Lina Nordin Gee.
Hello.
Oliver G. Hello. This is the Eiffel Tower podcast. We're doing an episode about Made in Paris, creative in Paris.
Workshops, ateliers.
If you're reading my Substack newsletter, you'll see that I summarize some of my favorite workshops and ways to get your hands dirty, get creative in Paris. We're adding a few more today from things we've done very recently, including one that we did this very week. So that's what this episode is going to be about. But first, if I say getting really creative, Lina, who do you think about?
Is this a trick question?
Do you think Monet?
Sure.
Van Gogh?
Yes.
Me too. And that's lucky because this episode is brought to you by My Private Paris. At the end of the episode, Marie Segura, the co-founder of the company, is going to be talking about an excellent day trip, which is to Giverny and Auvers-sur-Oise, which is the former homes of both Monet and Van Gogh. You can go and visit them really easily. She'll talk about both those places, how you can do it, and book a tour with them. My Private Paris, they're sponsoring this whole season of the podcast. More from them at the end, but back to Paris. Lovely music from Press Maxon, but let's jump into what we did this week. If you heard the episode last week, we talked to Gregory Philippe, the stonemason, and I actually said to him, I think in the episode, I said, I'd love to do your class. And right after, he's like, when do you want to do it?
He just came straight out with an invitation.
Back, yeah.
Love it.
And I said, well, I'll look at my calendar, get back to you. I text him, I say, how about Thursday? He goes, brilliant. He said, I said, what do I bring? And he said, bring some...
Saucisson sec?
Yeah, and some goat's cheese.
And we're like very specific, but sure, let's do it.
And we were on Rue Saint-Antoine in the Marais, and there's a great little butcher there. And we went in, and we did a fun thing actually. I handled the cheese and you handled the meat.
Yeah.
And
okay, so this is what Oliver often does to me. He gives me like little challenges. He's like, if you can sneak in this word or this phrase, you get 10 points or something. And this is all nonsense, but it's
no, I'm keeping track of the score.
Oh, you're crazy.
No, but the idea is just to make interactions more ridiculous.
Or just make life more fun.
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah.
So that's what happened. You gave me a little challenge.
I said, while you're ordering this saucisson sec, try and convince...
No, you just said, if you squeeze in bien... No, what was it?
Bien noté.
Bien noté.
I also said, try and mind game this guy into selecting saucisson sec
with mushroom flavor. Yes. And I was like, challenge accepted. And I was not so subtle about it. I was like,
Liv's like,
hey,
do you have anything with mushrooms?
No, this is like taboo. You're not allowed to say mushroom. So I was like, hey, fella man. I didn't say that. But I was like, hey, we're going to have a party with a friend. And this friend, he's got a very particular taste. He loves walking in the forest.
I should add, you never met this guy before.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, I've never been in that shop in my life.
No, I mean the stonemason either.
Oh, that either. No, I never met him either. So I was just making all this up.
So you make it all up. He goes, try the saucisson sec avec cèpe, which is a kind of mushroom.
Yeah.
We bring it to the stonemason, Gregory, along with the goat cheese that I chose. And
did I give you a challenge for that one? I can't remember. I don't think so. But I'm not that fun.
Stonemason picks up the saucisson sec, which is dried, like what do you call it? Cured, dried sausage, whatever.
Yeah.
And he goes, this is cèpe from the forest. I love the forest. I'm a forest guy.
Forest man. And we're like, oh.
So we nailed it.
Yeah, it was perfect.
So we went in there and along with a couple members of the Eiffel Tower team, and we carved limestone for 2 or 3 hours. And it was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was a switch off.
It was such a good experience.
To give a little sort of hint of how it works, you go into this workshop, which I talked about at length in the episode last week.
And the workshop is right in the Marais, which is great.
on the little medieval alleyway, Rue du Prévost. And you go in there and he sort of talks about how the tools work and a little bit about the history of the stone. And then he gives you a square chunk of stone and you trace an outline of something. So one of us did the fleur de lis, for example. And I did the Eiffel Tower logo.
You freehanded it.
I just drew it with a pencil.
Yes, yeah.
And you did the series of monogram letters, right?
Yeah, I did, the letters of everyone in our little family.
And then basically he shows you how to do it. And he's like, let's get chiseling. And then he walks around helping a lot. But you just sort of... What I love about it reminds me when I play basketball is I don't think about anything.
Yeah, you're in the zone.
In the zone.
Yeah.
Love it. I love
It's the same with
switching
painting.
off. Yeah?
Definitely.
Just switch off. And I will say this. He said 3 times to me, maîtrise totale.
Okay. Okay,
which
bien
I took-
noté.
Which I took to mean,
But
you're great at
I
this.
never heard that.
I know.
Yeah.
When he said it to me one time, I said, go and tell Lina that you said that. Because, dear listeners, Lina is the artistic one in this couple, and she always nails these things, and I'm usually the one like chipping my finger off or something like that. But it was great. And spoiler alert, he put my stone in the window display.
He did, and mine is nowhere to be seen. Mine is like turned upside down and used as for the floor.
Yeah. But it was really cool. So I honestly highly recommend it. It's probably not for, how best to say this, like you'll get dirty.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's kind of rough on
It's
your hands.
hands-on, yeah.
It's not. I mean, you can imagine you chipping stone. Literally,
I can imagine some of the people I've
it's not
met.
that hard on you, but it's like it's a bit physical.
Yeah, it's not passive. So if you're going to come to do it, I'd recommend you're in not necessarily good shape, but I mean, you don't want to be a frail 95-year-old probably.
No, and you're going to stand up for all this and like sort of hunched over a bit. So it's physical.
And don't forget, although he's just come up with a way to make way smaller limestone, so you can take it back. Well, as we're saying this kind of stuff, I realize how much it sounds like we're just doing an ad.
Yeah,
we just like it.
No, it was cool.
I like it.
It was cool.
I like
Experience. Very
Gregory
different
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So check it out. I think it's a real fun, different thing to do while you're in Paris. So in the Substack, all the show notes, you'll be able to find all the information. But his name is Gregory Philippe. There's an ambulance going past. It's ambient noise. In the Substack, the newsletter that I sent out this week, we also mentioned some other ones. We mentioned the gin making, which I featured on the show before, chocolate making, millefeuille making.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
zinc/slate making after I did that zinc rooftop.
Oh, I want to try that. What do you get to do?
I know that it's more about slate than zinc. I didn't do the class, but I just interviewed them in the class. It's on my list.
Yeah.
Things to do.
Yeah.
But you, my dear,
yes,
you did another very interesting workshop that I think we should discuss.
I did.
Spell it out for me.
Okay, this was a couple of months ago, and it's something that's been on my bucket list for a long time. And
I think it was actually on the bucket list.
It literally was, but not for that year. But, it's been so on my bucket list for so long, and I just failed to do it. And I think originally I was inspired by Coco Chanel. So the thing was to make a hat, to make my own hat. And you actually surprised me with a hat making course for my birthday last year.
Millinery.
Yes. So yeah, it was great. So this was on it was like a hat making studio. You can also make your own bags. And there's also like a shop at this place on Rue Turbigo in the first arrondissement.
So
I think, or second maybe.
I figured I'd sort of interview you about it a little bit.
Go for it.
Company name?
Mini-Me Land, I think it was.
Yeah. Once again, not an ad.
No, not at all. We paid for it and everything.
So hat making.
Yes.
I want to ask, a lot of people, like you work in fashion, you design handbags and shoes and stuff. You probably have much more of an eye for this stuff than the typical layman. No, I mean, of course.
Sure.
But do you think this is something for everybody?
Yeah, why not? If you're interested, if you find it fun, if you want to do something with your hand, walk away with a very personal, unique souvenir, yeah, why not? Again, it's a little bit physical, but yeah.
Because I didn't do the class. I was walking around in circles outside
with baby
with
Astrid.
the baby.
Yeah, I know.
Strapped to my chest.
Yeah.
But when I did put my head in, it surprised me. If I had to guess what it looked like, I don't know. I hadn't thought about it really, but I kind of thought it would be like. This is gonna sound wrong, but like a sweatshop, Like
Okay.
I kind of imagine like
Sure.
20 desks
Yeah.
and sewing machines and people just getting on with it, and it
Okay.
was so far from
Yeah,
that.
it's not at all.
I don't know
No.
why that's what I thought it was.
So you walk in and it looks like kind of an eclectic fashion shop with bits and bobs everywhere. It's a little bit of a Mad Hatter.
a lot of color.
A lot of color, a lot of it's a little bit weird. But don't let
That's the
that
beauty when it's not an
deter you.
advert. You just say whatever you want.
It was a little
It
bit
was
weird.
over the
It was
top.
like bits in the basement,
Yeah.
like little tunnels with just whack things.
Yeah.
Anyways,
It
walk
felt
in.
like a tattoo parlor or something.
Yeah.
Like little corners. Bits
Or
and pieces.
like a little hippie in a non-derogative way. Sure. Anyways, let's get back to the hat making. You just walk in, and I didn't know if it was like a private thing, but it was a group of maybe 8 people.
Got the cheap one.
Surprise, surprise. No, but it was nice. And it turned out that I was the only one living in Paris.
Right.
It was all tourists.
Do you remember where they're from?
Yeah, it was Americans, a bunch actually. Most of them they were from Australia.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was all ages. So that was cool, and both men and women, which also was cool.
I noticed something funny when I came in was that they'd said English spoken. Pharmacies around Paris always have English spoken.
Yeah, English
Like
spoken.
it's very passive.
Yeah.
Not we speak English.
English was once spoken in here.
English spoken.
Yeah.
Not by us.
Right.
But the person leading your thing could have said English spoken, because I've never seen anything like it.
Yes, I was gonna. Yeah, go on.
He had what looked like an iPad or something, and he would just explain for 2 minutes what everyone was about to do in French. And there were no French speakers with you, right?
No.
So then he just pressed translate, and then the computer explained to everybody.
Yeah, so it was like this Stephen Hawking's voice telling everyone how to make a hat. But yeah, cool.
Were
It
there
worked.
mistakes? Like, was it like?
Sometimes it translated it really weird, and everyone started laughing.
Yeah.
But
It's quite exciting for.
in context, you get it. Obviously,
It's exciting for what it means for international travel.
Yeah.
For something.
no, it's a cool thing.
Something like a hat making course. If you go to, I don't know, some like Japan or something, where you never, like you're just visiting for 2 days, you're never going to learn more than basic language.
Yeah.
And suddenly you can do an interactive.
Yeah, and have a conversation. And
Imagine doing making a kimono class in Japan.
Amazing.
With someone who doesn't speak English.
Yeah, right.
That wouldn't have been possible
Yeah.
at some point. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. Okay, and then talk me through it. So how do you make a hat?
All right, so you start off by choosing the shape of your hat, and you had like 4 different shapes maybe, and they were all, it's like fedora. I can't remember the names of them all, but it was like kind of simple classic shapes. And then you choose your material, and there's a standard felt one that you get with like price included, or you can go for a slightly nicer one. Which I did. Whoops,
It's like one
not
of
so
those-
cheap anymore.
It's like one of those sushi restaurants where it's on the conveyor belt and you pay at the end.
Yes, and then
Every
it's like
little extra-
surprise. Yeah. So you can choose to have a little add-on, and then you start like shaping it. You start ironing, like steaming. Everyone's got their own steamer irons, and you start like steaming it on top of this mold that you get. You choose the shape, and like pulling, and then when you think that you have the right shape and you feel like it's good enough, the instructor comes and helps you, obviously. So it's like it's really physical.
More
I had to
steam.
Exactly. I had to put my whole weight on it to get it into shape, which is like it was kind of sweaty work. And then when you have the right shape, you actually hammer in some nails into this wooden block, and And then after that process, you steam some more, you iron, and then at the end they put it in like this dryer oven sort of, and it waits there for about, it was a while, like half an hour, maybe up to an hour even. And while that's happening, you walk around this shop and look for all the different accessories and the ribbons and whatever you want to do to it.
And you sort of lent into an Indiana Jones at Burning Man.
Yeah, I don't know. It sort of landed there. Yeah.
But it's a cool hat.
It's nice, yeah.
So they try and upsell you accoutrements at the end. Like, another feather. Because they know that's...
Not really. No, they just let you do your thing.
As we're saying all this, I'm thinking how French slash Parisian, besides the Coco Chanel connection, was there anything that made it particularly French or, Parisian?
I mean, hard to say like that, but I think the idea of being in an atelier or something fashion related, a lot of people, they think of Paris synonymous with fashion. So be able to do something like that for a complete beginner is great. I don't know many other places you could do that. And as I said, you could do your own tweed, very like Chanel inspired handbag in this place as well.
They do handbags too.
Yeah, the quality didn't look amazing, have to say, but could be fun.
I mean, I think the point of us talking about both these courses and we've done all these other ones as well, is it's such a different way, not just of experiencing the city, but of getting your hands dirty, as it were.
Yeah.
And walking away with something.
Yes.
Either a souvenir for life in the terms of hat or stone.
And I have to say, I actually really like the hat.
I wear the hat when I'm telling Indiana Jones stories to our son.
Yeah, I know. It's getting good use these days.
But also, when I think of the gin class that I raved about on this show, and still when people drink that gin that I got there, I tell the story. The idea of walking away with something so personal at all of these places we've talked about is so cool.
So these kind of workshops, they're a really great way of spending your time, I feel.
Not to mention if the weather is not cooperating.
Exactly.
I hate to say this, but it hasn't been cooperating for about 8 months in Paris.
Yeah, for about a year.
Maybe even.
But let's not be whinge pots.
No, let's not be whinge pots, because spring is also in the air. And I'm going to sort of segue into spring for a second here, because I wonder if I've mentioned this on the show before, but we've lived in this house. This will be the third spring, I guess.
Yeah.
And the elderly lady next door, we share the same view. And there's this tree that flowers pink. And she's lived in that building next door for, I think she told me 50 years or something.
Yeah, I think so.
And she says she can almost tell the time by that tree turning pink, and it's turned pink. And the first year she told me that story. Second year she told me that she has written a poem about it. And this time, the third year, I beat her to it. I said, the tree's pink. Where's your poem?
Yeah, show us the goods.
I want to get that poem. And she's like, whoo, no, I'm not going to share it with you. But I think...
maybe next year.
I'm thinking next year this could be some real treat.
No, get it now.
You think?
She is pretty...
Before it's too late? Good Lord, it's spring.
I was going to say...
Spring, new beginning.
Yes. The flowers are going to fall.
Yeah, fair enough.
Read into that how you...
I do want to hear the poem, and if I do get it, I'll read on the podcast. But spring is also a really good time to get out and about. And one of the best instances of gardens and flowers when it comes to this part of the world is Giverny. So I'm going to hand over the microphone to Marie Segura from My Private Paris, the sponsor of this show, and she's going to talk to us about getting out of Paris for a day and how best to visit those two places. That will be following some music from Press Maxon. But first, Lina Nordin Gee, thank you for sharing that little story with us.
Thanks for having me.
And hats off to you.
Very good.
Marie, how you doing?
Hey, how good?
I love that you're wearing a green top because it's saying spring to me.
Of course.
Spring is in the air.
Hope and spring.
Hope and spring at once. And as far as I'm concerned, nowhere says hope and spring as much as Giverny. So You were talking to me before about like one of the ultimate day trips out of Paris is to go there, but to tie something else onto it.
Yeah, because Giverny is pretty far, and as you're already there, why not continue visiting around? So Giverny is the house of Monet, right? And not very far of Auvers-sur-Oise, and that's where Van Gogh used to live. That's pretty cool to do both on the same day.
I've never been out to Auvers-sur-Oise. What is it to live up to the hype, or is it just? Is it like you need your imagination when you're out there, or?
No, not so much. I mean, it's not as known as Giverny. You don't have as much flowers. It's not exactly the same vibe. But if you like the work of Vincent van Gogh, especially if you know the end of his life and you want to know more about it, and especially the last paintings, and you go there, you can really recreate to his last month of living. You can visit the room where he was. We can privatize that also. So it's a pretty cool experience. And you can visit his tomb. And around there, you have the forest and the fields where he was inspired at the very end of his life.
Is it, am I right that there was some sort of controversy at the end of his life? Like he did kill himself or he didn't kill himself or something?
It's still a mystery today. We have, of course, a lot of people are saying that because he had a lot of mental issues, and he also wrote some letters that could lead to the fact that, he did committed suicide. But we also have other people that saying maybe it was an accident. Maybe he had, was not exactly at the right time at the right place. But for sure, he didn't want it to continue his life. And he said that to his brother, that he didn't want it to be a burden to him.
Yeah.
But now if you visit Auvers-sur-Oise, I'm going to spoil. They are buried together,
Great.
like just one to the side of the other. And there is some ivy that is doing the junction. So it's like one tomb. So that's pretty.
That's nice.
Yeah.
But when you say you can privatize the room that I wish, where he lived? Or?
Yeah, because he was staying, so he was having a room in an auberge. He was just renting a room. And there, they reconserved the bedroom as it was at the time of Van Gogh living here.
You can really do the Van Gogh tour of France now that I think about it. Because you get all the way down in...
But you have to go all the way to Sarreguemines for Arles.
But worse than if you're a fan. You know what I wondered? In Paris, he's got his old house on Rue Lepic. Do they know which apartment he's in, her house, or he was in?
What we know is the building was kind of rebuilt in between, so I don't even know if there is proper room where you can feel the vibes of a Van Gogh ghost.
You could probably sell it though. If you bought one, you could say it. And could be that old thing as well. What about Giverny though? Talking about spring coming.
Yeah, so Giverny is this place where you can only enjoy it in spring up to autumn, really. It's from the 1st of April until the 31st of October. So if you here in Paris at that time, really go there because it's a place that first is magical with the flowers. There is this little lake. It's pretty known with this Japanese bridge, right? Beautiful. I'm sure you have a picture there. Everyone makes a picture on the Japanese bridge. And then the House of Monet is interesting because you feel like you're back in time and just going in the rooms where he lived. And you see the garden that he made. He made the garden to paint, and he paints inspired by, it's just this connection with nature that is incredible in the work of, and again, you can visit this grave and pay your homage.
And you guys too, like when you do private tours out there, have you got tricks for avoiding the masses of people?
Obviously, we are starting our tours pretty early in the morning. So you get there and you just skip the line. We have tickets in advance, obviously, but we also trying to really have the best timing in the morning to just be alone in the garden. And then it depends on the season. I cannot, assure you're going to be alone in the garden, obviously in May or June. But so we're going to, take
Is there people that like run in once it opens? People do that with La Chapelle or the Louvre or whatever. Are there people that stand up to run for that bridge?
It's funny. I would say no, because it's not that easy to find. It's kind of a maze of nature. And so I would say, first of all, they arrive and they see the house. So they probably take first a picture of the house.
Yeah.
And it's not that easy to find the other side of the garden.
Right.
So probably our guide, how the one running.
Okay, 2 more questions. In winter, is it like, Is it just that all the flowers are basically dead and it's a wasteland in there and no one cares? Or is it just that they're taking the chance?
Yeah, I think that, I'm not talking for the Fondation Claude Monet, but I imagine that why they don't want people in the winter is because it doesn't really relate to the work of the painter. I mean, Claude Monet wanted to have this garden as a representation of his word and his art. So not having anything, having nature completely, dead for a few months, then yeah, it's not really relevant, I think. So, yeah.
And the follow-up question is, I know you've been a bunch of times. If you could recommend the best month to go to Giverny, imagine someone's planning to come.
May.
May?
I would think May.
Why is that?
Just for the type of flowers, it's not burn yet. Like June and July, you can have it. Like it's pretty hot, and so it's not exactly the same. Also in the garden, like to have a little bit fresh of breeze, in May is still the case, but after that it's maybe too hot. Oh, September.
May or September, you heard it here first. That's Mary Segura from My Private Paris book, one of their trips to Giverny and Auvers-sur-Oise, and do the whole thing at once. Otherwise, trips around Paris, inside Paris, outside Paris, My Private Paris. Thanks for being on the show.